Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Know Your Game podcast. I'm James Hargrove, Communication Director for USIndoor, and today we have Jacob Franks, Assistant Program Manager over at Monument Sports Group, here to discuss liability, coverage, risk, and everything under the sun as it relates to insurance for your indoor sports facility. Jacob, how you doing?
All right. Good to see you again.
Great to see you. And for most of you who are watching, if you're not familiar with Monument Sports Group, we have a long and tethered history together, USIndoor and Monument Sports. And through that partnership, we're able to offer some pretty exclusive and favorable products and services to our members. And today will be no different as we talk about specifically risk. So Jacob, as we get started today, could you kind of talk everyone through who you are, what you do, and exactly why this program that MSG is offering, why is it so beneficial?
So I'll give you a little bit of a history first of who MSG is, our relationship with USIndoor, and then how I got involved. So Monument Sports has been partnered with USIndoor for about 25 years now. So they've been the exclusive insurance provider of this program. So Monument is 100% dedicated to sport, whether it's professional sport, amateur sport, risk management, insurance, and placement of products. So that is all we dabble in. We don't mess with home. We don't mess with auto, anything outside of that. Mark, our president, likes to say we're kind of like the Rain Men of the sport insurance industry. So we stick to what we know, right? And that's really carved out a great niche for us. It's funny, I started my insurance journey when I transferred to the University of South Carolina. So the University of South Carolina has a risk management insurance program in their business school. So when I transferred there, I found out that major was not offered in the state of Virginia. So I was able to get in-state tuition. So I kind of used it as a loophole to get into the business school there. So I double majored in risk management, insurance, and finance. And I always had a love for sports. I went to go play soccer actually my freshman year of college at a small school in Virginia. Didn't love it. So ended up transferring after a third surgery on my ankle and started my insurance journey. So I minored in sport and entertainment management, and I knew Mark. I grew up with his son Joe. He's one of my best friends. So I had been playing at Mark's indoor sport facility here in Richmond. So Mark owns the Sports Center of Richmond, which also helps when we're talking to our clients and whatnot, because he's been in their shoes in probably every scenario, right, that a facility owner's seen. So I'd refereed at the facility. I did maintenance at the facility. I played there since probably 2003 or so when they opened, 2004. And it was funny. I had no idea that he had an insurance agency. So when I was working there one summer, he was asking what I majored in, et cetera. And I was like, well, I'm a risk management and insurance finance major, and I'm minoring in sport and entertainment management. And he was like, that I've got a sport insurance agency, right? And I was like, no. Well, can I intern there next summer? So I interned, and then he gave me a call after I graduated, and they needed help. And so I came in right away. So I've been here since 2016. So I guess I'm in year 8 now of working with Mark and the rest of the team here at Monument.
Wow, very coincidental and a very favorable sense that you guys connected and found that out, in that relationship. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely funny. And it's pretty rare, I feel like, that people actually get to use their degree. I didn't think I'd necessarily be an insurance guy my whole life, but here I am. So we'll see what happens in my future years. But I've loved working here, and it's been great so far.
Awesome. Well, then with that, let's kind of jump right into what MSG does. Maybe we can start with specifically with our members, with our facility operator members who, come approach USIndoor, looking to see what they're going to get out of their membership dues. And one of the major ones that we promote is our insurance plans. So could you kind of talk everyone through, well, what is that?
Yeah.
We don't have to go too deep into it. Maybe like a high level look at what that looks like and why is that usually more favorable than your competitors?
So I'll take a step back before I go straight into what US Indoor or what we do with US Indoor. So we really specialize in programs. So in the insurance world, just really like any other business, through economy of scale, you get better pricing and whatever it may be. So in the insurance world, it's called the law of large numbers. So if you can get a program and you can group so many businesses into it. In the insurance world, you're going to be subject to more favorable rating, better coverages, enhancements, etc. So with US Indoor, we set up an exclusive program with the association, US Indoor. And we've had that program I mentioned earlier for about 25 years now. So it's been rock steady. You know, we probably have several hundred facilities that are in it. And that's just with our partner, the Hanover Insurance Group. So, depending on the type of facility, the different exposures that are there, the types of risk management that someone does or does not do, they may or may not qualify for the program. Now, we aren't exclusively shopping with Hanover, right? So while they are the program carrier, we're an independent agent. So we can go out to anybody else in the industry that does provide the correct sport and rec related coverage. So especially when you're getting to the facilities that have like some Ninja Warrior or climbing involved and maybe ice or a pool, some higher risk stuff, it may not be a fit for Hanover. And that's where, our expertise really comes in because I know, okay, carrier A, B, C, or D, they really like the Ninja Warrior stuff and carrier B does not. Or so and so may like the pool risk and someone may not. So I think that's what really sets us apart is, again, back to what I said at the beginning, we don't dabble in anything else. It's just sport and rec insurance. So out of all of the players in this marketplace, I've got a good relationship with said carriers and I really know their appetites and what they do and don't want. So when someone comes to me, I can hit it in stride and run with it pretty quickly and know exactly where the best home is for them. Now, with that said, the goal is to try and put somebody in our exclusive program because typically it's more beneficial for them. So, as I was saying earlier, the more people that you pull into a group for insurance, there's more premium that goes to the program. So, basically, the carrier sees it as they've got more premium to pay out claims in the event that something happens, right?
Mhm.
So, if you just had one client and they had a catastrophic claim, their $20,000 premium per year isn't going to pay out the catastrophic claim. But if you got 200 clients at $20,000, it insulates them to pay out premium. So that gives them the advantage of providing much more competitive pricing in the industry. And I always stress the pricing part because that's really what people just want to hear, right? But to me, what's more important is the coverage enhancements and the sport specific product that we have built through US Indoor in Hanover Insurance. So, we sat with them years ago, helping develop forms and kind of tailor what we wanted to see. And I would say that, the actual coverage itself is second to none in the industry. Um, and that's what's, kind of separated us and made it a no-brainer for people really to approach us to try and join the program because of one, how good the coverage is, and two, how how strong the pricing can be.
Right. And to go back to something you mentioned earlier, not everyone qualifies for the exclusive insurance program, which
Correct.
sort of infers that at first contact with a potential member, you'd have to consult with them, kind of know the ins and outs of their business. And then from that point, you can, I guess, give them that informed knowledge as to
Right.
which direction they should go, whether it's with you or maybe even a different carrier.
Yeah. So again, when I get that application in, we've got a pretty extensive application. That's really the worst part of the process of working with us and then having to deal with me on a day-to-day basis. But the application is really thought-provoking and it's got a ton of stuff on risk management. So when I'm going through it, I can see, okay, this person really needs help in this space of risk management, whether it's waiver retention or abuse guidelines, running background checks, or maybe it's something as nuanced as how far should their field be from a wall and when does it need to be padded and when doesn't need to be padded. So those types of things, I can immediately see and then communicate with the client. So most of the people that we work with are, they're very receptive. Not nobody is. I would say 99% of the people we work with, they're not insurance savvy, nor should they be. It's not the industry that they're in, right? So, um, we help them every step of the way, almost in a consulting manner, to get them to the point where they're doing everything they can to prevent, something that is preventable from happening, right? So, with that being said, I've been able to coach up several clients where there's no way they should have qualified for the program, but within a few calls, they understand it and we get them off on the right foot. So, outside of just placing the insurance for our clients, again, I don't like to use the word consultant, but we do a ton of work in the risk management space. So we've got sample waivers, rental agreements. We do review contracts to look over insurance portions, and we'll take photos of the facility and just provide our general advice on what they uh, should do or stay away from as they start building things out. In addition to that, like I said, I worked in an indoor sport facility for several years. Mark owns one. Mark, our president, he owns an indoor sport facility. And, I played indoor soccer my whole life. I know how these facilities run. I saw it on a firsthand basis. Our whole team here, for the most part, are former athletes that are, specified in the field they work in. So, like I said, we've got a specialized interest in building programs. We've got a similar program with the Climbing Wall Association. So the two guys in our office that head up that program are, they're expert climbers. So, it's stuff that we know firsthand and we live it day to day. So, it definitely helps when communicating with the client and trying to get them into the right spot.
Yep, totally agree. And going back a little bit to your history, and this applies to your history since you've been with MSG for 7 or so years, the whole COVID experience that we're all still aware of. I think we're past the hangover stage of it. I mean, obviously, some people are still feeling the repercussions financially from that. But how did it look for you guys as we moved through COVID, and how did your clients feel, or how were they directly
Well,
impacted, and what adjustment did you guys have to make?
that's a really good question. One, because if you look at what we do, we are in the really like a venue management type space. Our clients, while they run sport facilities, they are venues, and the way that they make money is having patrons come into their space, right? So when you look at a policy, a general liability policy, the way that it's typically rated is off of your gross receipts and participants. So, the gross revenue portion, we get it to break down whether it's through leagues that are sanctioned by you, rentals that are coming in, selling things at concession, etc. And obviously, hosting your own leagues is going to have a higher rate than selling a bag of Frito Lays, right? So, um, it's a really good indicator of how many people come through their doors. And so, how this relates to COVID is everyone had to shut down, right? So everyone's expected revenue for the year went from, if let's say a facility expected to have $1 million, but they were in the state of California, they couldn't operate the entire year. So we worked pretty relentlessly with the carriers to actually credit everybody's account. And so what we did, this was, it's funny, one of the sayings that that goes along here is we never work so hard to give money back. But we probably, I don't know how many hours I worked during that time. It's probably, that was the toughest part of my career so far, just in terms of the amount of hours, because we had to go through every single account, find out where they're at, are they able to operate, how badly they're being affected. We wanted to get ahead of the game because we knew that they're not going to have any cash flow. So we actually went to the carrier ahead of time and had them immediately endorse every policy to cut everyone's revenue in half. So it's a bit unprecedented in the industry. And again, we were able to do that because we've got a program with Hanover. Now, we tried doing that with, some of our other accounts that are with, carrier XYZ outside of Hanover. They aren't as willing to do it because we have, policies there on a one-off basis. We still have plenty of business with them, but again, it's not a program. So some carriers were really, really helpful and others weren't. And, for the most part, if a carrier decided to do that in their health and fitness related program, they're doing that across their entire book of business. So um, it was unfortunate to see in some areas, but we were super proud of what we were able to do across our programs. And then, turning the policies to auditable. So at the end of the year, we were able to see what they actually did bring in. So if that 50% cut in revenue wasn't enough, we would bring it down even further. So, we did exactly what I think you should have done in that scenario. And again, I'm pretty proud of it. It was a lot of hard work, but um, it's been good coming out of it. And I think our clients really appreciated it too. But, I think the buildup outside of COVID, depending on what state you were in, was either a slow roll or it came out, people came out kind of like shooting out of a cannon, right? I think a lot of people really wanted to get back to playing sports and whatnot, but some people were limited, and you couldn't do but so much depending on the state you were in. I would say that everyone's back to operating at the same levels they were, or they're exceeding it now, and that's a great thing. But on the other hand, we've seen inflation just surge over the last several years, and just like any other industry, insurance is affected too. So I've seen rates go from like a 15% increase year over year since COVID. I've had some at 50%, some that are way higher than that. But luckily for us, we've been able to keep our program stabilized. And, it's kudos to Hanover and their ability to work with us on this and keep things still very competitive. But it's definitely something that set us apart coming out of COVID, I would say.
Okay. And then I guess as a follow-up to that, have you seen any differences in like claim activity post-COVID?
Yeah, actually. So that's another great question. They always say in insurance that claim activity spikes when there's financial hardship. So after 2008, we saw the same thing. And since COVID, claim activity has gone higher and higher. And I think that plus just kind of how just the hypertension that there is kind of just in our society right now. People are upset and people aren't happy, and they are more prone to filing a lawsuit and trying to claiming dollars, whether they need the money or they're just generally they just don't care now. So I think that it's not just been sport related claims we've seen on the liability side several claims just with slip and falls. And, you get some where they're in the bathroom and there's no video surveillance. So you never know what could be bogus or what's actually legit, right? So, and I would say most of them are legit, but we've just seen an increase in disruption on the claim side. So, there's not just liability and property, cyber related claims. It's all across the board, and I could go on and on and on about claim examples. But it's definitely been a different environment, and I think there's a few things that we try and help our facilities with in terms of risk management because back to the slip and fall thing. If your facility doesn't have cameras inside and outside, and you can't pinpoint exactly when someone was hurt, because a lot of the times someone may slip and fall and they may not come back and say anything till 20 days later. So you don't know, or they didn't come to the front desk and report it. So you don't know that someone even got hurt, right? So those small things, like where we make sure that they get their video camera surveillance off from the beginning, really help mitigate some of that. So, I had a claim scenario the other day where a woman stated that she slipped and fell while she was walking out of the building, and the video camera surveillance showed that she walked out totally fine. So, it's things like that that can really help you in the long run. I think a lot of it also goes to customer service and fostering an environment where the people that come in, they aren't just coming in to play soccer. It's kind of a community driven thing. You'd think that, if someone was coming into your facility and they felt at home and they knew people like on the staff and whatnot, they aren't going to be as likely to file a lawsuit or try and claim money. But you never know. But some of those just small things, having a clean facility and just the eye test even makes a difference too. But outside of the people that are claiming money, we're seeing carriers not want to go to jury trials, for instance, because a lot of jurors now will just say, who cares? Screw the insurance carrier. Give, the claimant the money, right? So now carriers are more prone in just settling outside of court, and they're settling at higher figures because of, all this activity. So it's been interesting. And we're hoping that some different philosophies in handling claims and things start turning this back a bit, but there's definitely been a heightened sense of just claim activity in the industry.
Sure. Well, then let me put you on the spot real quick. In terms of claim activity, you mentioned one. I don't expect you to rattle off the long list of them. Slip and falls. Are there maybe 2 or 3 other usual suspects when it comes to claims in your years of doing this? And what should facility operators kind of be looking out for, at least consider when it comes to mitigating those risks?
Yeah, so I think like on the liability side, and I'll stick to liability now before we get into property and cyber and some other stuff. But on the liability side, your general sport related claims that you see, people just tearing an ACL or an Achilles and things like that during the field of play, regardless if you didn't do anything wrong or not, people are filing suit for that. So we've seen legitimate claims where some people don't keep up with their turf, let's say, and there's a slit in the turf, the turf, and someone's foot gets caught in it, and they end up breaking their ankle. They probably should have managed that before someone was on the field, right? So
Yep.
those are kind of the small things that we go through. I brought up earlier distance from the field to a wall, for instance. And so, if you don't have a wall that's padded and it's close to the field of play and someone goes into it full speed and hits their head, you're obviously being pretty negligent there, right? So those are some general run of the mill liability claims that you see in the sport facility industry. The property side of things have really increased too. And, property is anything from windstorms, it could be fire, etc. So the property business, the property carriers in this industry have just been hit over the head over the last few years for a number of different reasons. But we're seeing more nuanced claims start to poke their head out more. So, like crime is there's an endorsement called crime, commercial crime coverage. And, that can cover things like forgery and, theft of monies and securities and things like that. And more so than ever in my career, even though it's relatively short, I'm seeing more checks being altered and cashed than I ever have. And this has all just been in the last year or two. So I think that kind of speaks to, financial hardships and people doing things that are uncharacteristic that, you really don't think about until now they're starting to arise.
Yep, absolutely. And I think we've all kind of felt that pain of economic pressure, if you will. Like you said, it causes people to make irresponsible choices when you're
Yeah, to say the
in
least.
certain environments. Yeah, absolutely. And you also mentioned something about cybersecurity. How does that kind of play into things?
Yeah, so cyber we had always recommended clients to purchase over the years, but we didn't really stress it until the last couple of years. So claims are absolutely through the roof. You're more likely now to probably have a cyber related claim than a slip and fall in your facility or a sport related claim, which sounds crazy, but these in the cyber world, these aren't really. It's not a guy sitting in something like their mom's basement hacking into a system. These are full enterprises. People have legitimate syndicates where they target businesses to try and either hold them ransom until they get a certain cash amount paid out to them, or whether it's social engineering, etc. And they've become pretty skilled at it. It's hard to spot nowadays. So I think ransomware is not as prevalent, although we are seeing it. But where it really comes into play is phishing. So you may have seen this. I've seen it within our business. But they will emulate somebody's email within your own company, or let's say you had an outstanding invoice you had to pay from somebody from another company, and they will have an email that pops up exactly like the person you were contacting, and they'll send you a faux invoice and say, "Hey, please wire the money here to complete your payment for XYZ product you purchased." You send it over, and it's just gone. And
Yeah.
so, and we've seen that internally too. Like we got an email from Mark, our president, again, to one of our employees, but it wasn't Mark, and it was buying CVS gift cards. So, you've got to be hyper vigilant now and making all your employees aware of what could happen, because we're seeing that happen, that alongside the crime portion happen, way too often. So, getting ahead of these things, and again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with this, but these are the conversations that I have with our clients and trying to prep them into, okay, as a business owner, as you open this facility, these are the risks that are going to be present. And these are what you need to talk with your staff and be aware that, you could be taken advantage of in this or that way.
Step and talk about what is in it for US Indoor members specifically.
So in order to access our exclusive program with Hanover, you have to be a member of US Indoor. So obviously you're the best person to talk to about getting a membership with US Indoor. And there is money associated with that. But typically when you go to the insurance side, the amount of money that you save through going through our program is going to wash that membership charge out by quite a bit. So that is, I would say, again, I don't like to be too salesy on the price side, but that's really one of the bigger benefits that you can get. But I think when you look at it pragmatically, it's having someone that has great customer service. We're there for our clients. We're not hard to reach. And again, we've seen all these different questions and scenarios that your business faces on a day-to-day basis. So we're there to help you go through whatever scenario that may be and consult you in the right way. So I think that that's really the better takeaway from it. But for the people that are more price conscious, it does help to save some money too.
Absolutely. And to kind of add to what you said earlier, yeah, for those watching this who are not US Indoor members, yes, you can either reach out to myself or Chuck Stollery, our membership director. Of course, you'll see his info right below me. But if someone wanted to know more specifically about the insurance program, would they reach out to you, Jacob, or is there someone else they should contact?
Yeah, I think they should probably just reach out to me directly. So if you could just add my email below during the pod, that'd be great. But you can go to our website, monumentsports.com, just www.monumentsports.com. But I think it's just best to reach out to me via direct line or email, and we can have an initial conversation. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Absolutely. And I can attest to everything that you've said today. Obviously, I was asking questions I already knew the answer to, but I think people appreciate hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So in closing, I will say this as my own sort of experience with US Indoor / Monument Sports. For those who haven't figured it out, Mark Grossman, the head of Monument Sports, the head of SCORE, is also the current owner and president of US Indoor. So we have very close relationships to one another. And I can say firsthand that a lot of the members that I've spoken to over the past 3 years at conferences and stuff, when I ask them, what do you like most about US Indoor, being a member at US Indoor, top 3 is the insurance program. I mean, most of them just sign up to be a member just for the insurance, which is not something to brag about from my perspective, but it was a reality. So
yeah, and I think that's something that's changing, right? So and you guys have done a great job, and Mark's really trying to push as the owner, because he took over 3 years ago now,
yeah,
as the owner of US Indoor. So I know he's trying to change that perception, but I think that it is kind of just a plain fact that it is such a helpful resource that it makes joining US Indoor a no-brainer if you are a sport facility.
absolutely. Well, Jacob, once again, thanks for being here, and thanks for kind of laying out some of the facts about the industry. And yes, you're right. Most people, including myself, are no tax experts. In fact, it's almost like finding a mechanic or a physician, right? You need someone you can trust and someone that has that knowledge. And of course, the cheaper, the better. right? So
Yeah.
no better place to look for insurance than through you guys. So appreciate having you here. Everyone, of course, you saw the info at the bottom of the screen, so you can contact Jacob and find out more about our exclusive program. With that, Jacob, thanks again for being here. We'll see everyone on the next one.
Thanks for having me on, James.
You bet. Take care.
Thank you.